Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. For the longest time in my active addiction, I could have sworn that all my problems in life were related to stress. They had nothing to do with the amount of booze that I drank or the amount of weed I smoked. It was just stress. And it was other people or things causing that stress. The world around me. The fact that my job was very demanding, the fact that the people I worked with were demanding, on and on and on. I could come up with lots of lists and different reasons why the world around me made things stressful, and if it would just change, then I would feel more serene. I would feel calmer. Life would be beautiful. And that's when I had dreams of winning the lottery and being able to not work the rest of my life, because I thought that was the key to living a stress-free life. And so as time went on, things of course went downhill. My addiction, my substance use disorder got even worse, and I ended up in a very dark place, lots of depression, lots of stress, and realized that my only way out of that was to seek treatment. And so I sought treatment in order to eliminate all the stress from my life, to get rid of all of the things that were driving me crazy, and to find that calm and serene place that's promised in the Serenity prayer. And that also was a misguided goal. In fact, the act of just getting sober and starting a recovery journey can be a stressful, challenging thing. And so the idea that we should get rid of stress in our lives in order to make ourselves happier is probably not the best idea for us to adopt. And that's what the authors talk about in Fuck Feelings, from the passage I'm going to read today. I'll read a little bit right now. They say, "Therefore, many people feel that they should be able to reduce or eliminate stress along with anger and fear and achieve more serenity in their lives, both as an end in itself and to promote physical and mental wellness. They regard anger and fear as feelings that can be cleansed through meditation or the practice of peaceful, giving philosophies, or sweaty yoga, or drinking vegetables, etc. Unfortunately, like all life's unpleasantries, stress, fear, and anger are unavoidable, at least sometimes. In some ways, they're beneficial. Fear and aggression are primal, basic defenses. But whether stress is a force for good or bad in your life, or even both, trying to do away with it is futile, harmful, and a way to set yourself against your basic nature." So one of the things that I learned in early recovery was that the presence of stress in my life a lot of times was a signal that change was needed. It was a signal that I was resisting something. Same thing with fear. That's why I loved the fourth step of the Alcoholics Anonymous program. When my sponsor worked with me on this step, we really looked at the fears that I have as driving motivations in my life and really dug into those. And then that gave me the opportunity to recognize when those are creeping up in my day-to-day life. So it doesn't mean that I eliminate fear from my life by any means, but it gives me the opportunity to recognize when fear is influencing my life, and then decide whether or not I need to change my behavior a little bit in order to not avoid that fear, but address that fear. Usually that fear is preventing me from doing something I should be doing. So recognizing that it's there and where it comes from allows me to move forward with the things that I should be doing instead of succumbing to that fear and doing otherwise. Also, the stress that I feel, when I've got a lot of things going on at work. I had a great example of this at one point where I was really stressed out at work, and that would have been an opportunity in the past for me to break down emotionally and get very upset. And instead, I was able to recognize, okay, I'm getting stressed out. I'm getting to that point that I've been at before where I feel like I'm at a breaking point. Let's do something proactive about this. So instead of breaking down, I was able to go to my boss and say, hey, here is the way I'm feeling. Here is the struggle that I'm having. Can you help me? And that's something that I would have had a hard time with previously. I asking for help in to figure something out like that would not have been in my nature. But I had to accept that stress as just part of the work rather than resisting it so much that it caused me even more stress to be experiencing it. So they go on to say, certainly you can and should avoid stress if you're not also avoiding your responsibilities. It's good to avoid conflict when you can and hang out with people you get along with rather than with those that set you on edge. We assume, however, that there are a lot of conflicts and relationships that life dumps on you without giving you a choice. Likewise, your temperament dumps feelings on you like anger and anxiety without taking your permission or necessarily responding to meditation, exercises, medication, and intensive psychotherapy. So look, that's another thing that I had to realize early in recovery was just because I'm doing a lot of work to address these issues doesn't mean that they're just going to fly out the window the second I start doing this work. I still, to this day, yesterday, I woke up in a rotten mood. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And it bothered me because I don't like waking up in a bad mood. I don't like waking up irritable. And I've addressed this in conversations with my sponsor, with my counselor, with my psychiatrist. I've addressed it through prayer. I've looked at meditation. I've changed my diet in the evening. I've changed my exercise routine. I've done all sorts of things to try to address this, and it's gotten better, but it still happens sometimes that I wake up in the morning and I'm grumpy. And when that happens now, I can't push against it. I'm not saying that I just embrace it and let the grump flow, but I've got to recognize that sometimes that's just going to happen. And I just need to keep working at the things that I know I need to do, and it'll probably happen less. And so yesterday evening, I sat and thought a little bit about that part of my day. And I just recognized that this morning, I wanted to wake up not grumpy. I wanted to wake up ready, refreshed, and feeling good about the day. I prayed on it last night before I went to bed. This morning, I got up and I felt a little better, not as grumpy. I'm not saying anything I did influenced that. I'm just saying that it's the recognition that, sometimes these things happen and they're out of our control and we deal with them the best we can and then we move on and do what we can to try to help influence the next day, the next week, whatever. Finding serenity in life is not something that you can hunt. It's not an animal you can hunt down, kill, and take home and put on your wall and have forever. Calm, serenity, patience, all these positive feelings are things that we have to constantly work toward, but not things we're constantly guaranteed. And when I realized that and stopped stressing over making my life serene, that's when I saw serenity and calmness creeping more and more into my life. So if you are, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, I would encourage you to allow your feelings to happen and recognize the ones that you want to work on. Find the right people you can to work on with those, but try not to stress over the stress. Try not to get upset over the anger. Try not to get afraid of the fear, and try to let these feelings happen and then use those as means of improving yourself, of making the changes that you need in yourself in order to get to where you want to be. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But as you move forward, you'll see changes, and then new challenges will come up. That's just the way life is. But expecting constant serenity, expecting constant calm and constant peace, that's not a realistic goal. And if you have that goal, you're going to end up being disappointed more often than not. And it's going to cause you a lot of problems, because for me, for a long time, that's what I thought life was all about. I thought it was finding that place where I could just be happy and peaceful all the time. That's not realistic, and it sets you up for a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache, and a lot more stress than anyone deserves to experience in life. That's it for today. I'll be back here tomorrow with more. In the meantime, have a good one.